This is WGN Chicago serving the Middle West. Farmers Market reporter, let's get acquainted for Golden Mix, Cedric Foster for Montgomery Ward, the 3 o'clock Walgreen News, Meet Tommy Bartlett for Wholesome, and Words and Rhythm will not be heard today due to the World Series broadcast at this time.
We acknowledge the courtesy of these sponsors who have canceled their programs today for the World Series broadcast that follows immediately. Carter Products Incorporated, sponsors of John J. Anthony, and the makers of 4-Way Cold Tablets, sponsors of Cliff Edwards. We take you now to Briggs Stadium in Detroit.
Gillette's Cavalcade of Sports is on the air. From Briggs Stadium in Detroit, Michigan, Gillette presents the World Series. Good afternoon again, baseball fans everywhere. This is Bill Slater with Al Helfer and Bill Corum greeting you for the Gillette Safety Razor Company as the Detroit Tigers and Chicago Cubs get ready for their third game in this 1945 Championship Series. Men, look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. Gillette, as you know, is on the air the year round with on-the-spot reports of leading sports events, including the Kentucky Derby, football bowl games, and similar classics. Gillette also broadcasts the major boxing match of the week regularly every Friday night. And Gillette is going to broadcast this third game between the Tigers and the Cubs, and it'll be coming up in just a couple of moments. Each team, as you know, has won one game, so this is the rubber game up to this point in the series. The weather has been the big question in Detroit today. It was raining this morning, a slight drizzle. That stopped about an hour ago, and just about 15 minutes ago, the protective tarpaulin was taken from the playing surface of the infield down here, and although it's a dampish afternoon with a blue haze settled down over most of this section of Detroit, obscuring the vision of the skyscrapers in the background and making it hard to follow fly balls out into the deep field, in center field, left and right, just the same, I believe the game is going to get itself put into the book this afternoon. And if it does, this is the final day in Detroit, Michigan. There will be an exodus out of the Motor City tonight, and into Chicago will go the delirium of the 1945 World Series. And the Cubs will put on the white at-home uniforms, and the Tigers, when next we see them tomorrow, will be wearing the traveling gray. As far as the baseball that has been displayed in the series is concerned, it could be said it's run pretty close to form. Chicago is known for good pitching, superior speed offensively and defensively, and steady hitting. And those were the factors that won the first game for Chicago. Detroit is known as the possessor of excellent pitching, some pitching stars, and long ball hitters. And those were the factors that won yesterday's game for Detroit. So it's true to form at the end of two games with the series all tied up. The question as to who is going to win the series, well, that will only be decided by events, of course. People go around saying that in 28 out of 40 instances, the team that won the first game goes ahead to win the series. And then they turn around and point out that 10 years ago, Chicago shut out Detroit in the first game with Lon Warneke doing the pitching. Then Detroit came back and won the second game with little Tommy Bridges, and Detroit eventually won the series with Bridges pitching that thriller for the fourth victory in the final ball game. So let's just wait and see. Incidentally, I'd like to say a word about the band that you heard as we came on the air that's been bringing us on the air with Take Me Out to the Ball Game every day. That's Billy Finzel's 45-piece band, and Billy Finzel has had his band here now for the 7th World Series. In 1907, 8, and 9, way back then when Huey Jennings was the mastermind of the Detroit Tigers, Billy Finzel had his band out there, and he has opened 43 American League seasons here in Detroit with Billy Finzel's band. It's good to have them here. And incidentally, since we shall be leaving Detroit today, I'd like to do a very, very sincere bow to the staff of CKLW, the mutual station here that has picked up this end of the series, and to their men here in the broadcast booth with us, Bob Henderson, Bud Lynch, Bill Carter, Dennis Robinson, and Charlie Lane. And we would be remiss indeed if we did not express our very sincere gratitude to Ed Fitzgerald of the Detroit Club, who handles the press arrangements here and has done us so very many favors. Well, that about fills us in on the situation as we get close to the start of this third ball game of the 45 series. But here present with his ever-present Boonville, Missouri smile is the well-known sports columnist, your friend and mine, Bill Corum. Bill from Missouri, come in.
Thank you, Bill Slater. That's a fellow from those West Virginia hills, you know. Parkersburg to be exact. I'll get even with them. And good afternoon, folks. I wouldn't want these World Series games here in Detroit to pass without my having said something about the group of blind service boys who are attending the series from a California military hospital as guests of the Hearst newspapers. These happy, smiling, having a whale of a time for themselves youngsters almost bust your heart when you see them around the press headquarters dining and club room, on the streets, or here in the stands of Briggs Stadium with their earphones glued to their ears. Earphones and a transmission system which the Gillette Cavalcade of Sports broadcast has been only too happy and proud to be able to set up for them. I repeat, they're having a great time, and I'm sure that every person in these great crowds has felt honored and pleased to be a fellow spectator with them. For folks, these boys are the tops. No wonder our great country goes marching magnificently on. Coming back to baseball, it is doubtful if we'll see any such pitching in this third game as Virgil Trucks of the Tigers turned in yesterday. The sizzling sailor was faster than a short honeymoon, and whatever may happen this afternoon, he has made this series a contest again. For he'll be coming back at the Little Bears again down Chicago way, as of course will Newhouser. Incidentally, although little has been said about it, Hooks Wise pitched a pretty sharp game yesterday himself. He made only 2 mistakes on my scorecard. He walked Mayo, and he didn't walk Greenberg. With 2 on, 2 out, and the score tied, I think that Hooks and back of him Charlie Grimm should have made Greenberg wait for the junior prom. Walked him, in other words, which is, of course, second-guessing, which also, of course, is what I get paid to do. Today it's going to be the veteran Claude Passot, old number 13 in the points for the Cubs against Stubby Overmeyer, the homegrown Wolverine forkhander. Southpaws are not the Bruins' favorite dish either by any means. Still, they do beat them sometimes. We have another of those Michigan Mists on tap for this game, but tomorrow we'll be in Chicago, and the Chicago folks, fellas like Ed Burns and Johnny Carmichael, tell me that the sun shines in Chicago 365 days a year and 24 hours a day, maybe. Now, I'd like to say a little bit about the hitters here. 2 games have gone into the records, and the leading hitters are with the Cubs so far. Stanislaus Hack, old Stanislaus, one of the great third basemen of the game, a grand ball player always and now and for many years, is up there with a 500 mark, as is Captain Phil Cavaretta of the Cubs. Mickey Livingston, the catcher, who only played in 1 game, also is hitting 500. Doc Kramer, another wonderful old veteran and steady-going outfielder, is leading the Tigers with 429, which ties him with Swish Nicholson of the Cubs. And right behind him is the home run king and the big gun of the Tiger attack, Hank Greenberg, with 400, and little Skeeter Webb is nailing that potato pretty good, too, with 375. So there's not much to choose with only 2 ball games gone, the Cubs having a slight edge, and Hack playing one of the best games of his career, by the way, at third. We're always glad to see that because he has been such a steady and wonderful ball player. Kramer hasn't been quite as good in the field as might have been anticipated. He really has been one of the game's steadiest and best outfielders, you might say. Not the hardest hitter, but just a great outfielder right through his career. He's been a little unsteady out there in the field and seemed a little slow. But with the bat, he's been a tower of strength, and of course he started the Tigers off on that 4-run splurge, the only inning in which they've scored in the series so far, but enough to win that second game of the series. And that's that for now, fans. I'll be back to give you a quick summary of the highlights when the game ends.
Well, most of you folks have probably heard the slogan for the new Victory Loan Drive. They finished their job, let's finish ours. Now, that fits exactly a request that Uncle Sam was making to all community volunteers in war-connected jobs. A look around in your own community. There's still a desperate need for nurses' aides in hospitals and for all other Red Cross services. Selective service boards are busy processing discharged veterans. Workers are vitally needed to complete the 1945 harvest. And with the danger of inflation more serious than ever, price control board workers are very important. So if you have quit your volunteer job, go back to it if you possibly can. You have the experience to do the work efficiently, and it took weeks or months to train you. Let's finish up right. And now, baseball fans, here are the starting lineups for this third game of the 45 series. For the visiting Chicago Cubs, who are going home tonight, they hope with a victory tacked under their belts. The leadoff hitter will be the star third baseman, Stanley Hack. Batting number 2 will be Don Johnson, the second baseman. Batting third will be Harry Lee Lowry, L-O-W-R-E-Y, the left fielder. Batting fourth will be Phil Cavaretta, the first base star of Chicago for these many years. CAVARRETTA, if you're keeping a box score with us. Batting number 5 is the Wisconsin boy, Andy Pafko, P-A-F-K-O, the center fielder. Batting 6th is Bad Bill Nicholson, Nicholson, the right fielder. Batting 7th is Mickey Livingston, the catcher, who will probably be doing all of the catching now since Paul Gillespie twisted a knee in that 9th inning yesterday and perhaps will not be of service during the remainder of the series. So put in Mickey Livingston, number 7 in the batting order and catching for Chicago. Number 8 batter is their shortstop, Roy Hughes. And batting number 9 is their pitcher of the afternoon, the veteran Claude Passeau, P-A-S-S-E-A-U, a sturdy gentleman from the state of Mississippi, who this season has won 17 games and lost 9. Despite his long career, Passeau is a veteran. This is the first time he's had an opportunity to pitch in the World Series. He has pitched in all-star games, but this is the series, of course. So there's your Chicago batting order. Now here's the batting order for Steve O'Neill's boys from Detroit. The leadoff hitter will be the shortstop, Skeeter Webb. Batting number 2 will be the second baseman, Eddie Mayo. Batting third is the veteran center fielder, Doc Kramer, C-R-A-M-E-R. Batting fourth is Big Hank himself, the big left fielder, Captain Hank Greenberg. Batting number 5 is Roy Cullenbine, C-U-L-L-E-N-B-I-N-E, the right fielder. Batting sixth is Big Rudy York, the first baseman. Batting number 7 is Little Jimmy Outlaw, the third baseman, who lives in Jackson, Alabama, and has been doing a swell job here. Batting number 8 is the catcher of the afternoon, Bob Swift. This will be his first appearance in the series. Swift is a Kansas boy. He hails from Salina, Kansas, and Swift will be on there catching this afternoon. He usually catches Stubby Overmeyer. Batting number 9 for Detroit is their pitcher, short, stocky, Frank Overmeyer of Moline, Michigan. Overmeyer this season has won 9 and lost 9, and he's a lefty on whom Steve O'Neill is placing all of his faith in this third and rubber game up to this point in the 45 series. Here are the umpires. At the plate, it will be Art Passarella of the American League, who is an Army dischargee, and of course, being an umpire, as you would expect, he served as a military policeman in the Army. Umpiring at first base is Jocko Conlon. That's really John Conlon, but everybody calls him Jocko. He's a National League umpire. Umpiring at second is the veteran Bill Summers of the American League, and umpiring at third is silver-haired Lou Jorda of the National League. So that's the manner in which both teams will take the field. Now, if you were a little late coming in, or if you want to check again your box score, we'll run down the batting orders for you just once more. Number 1 hitter for Chicago, Hack, third base. Number 2, Johnson, second base. Number 3, Lowry, left field. Number 4, Cabaretta, first base. Number 5, Pafko, center field. Number 6, Nicholson, right field. Number 7, Livingston, the catcher. Number 8, Hughes, shortstop. Number 9, Passeau, the pitcher. And again, a quick check on the batting order for Detroit. Number 1 hitter, Webb, shortstop. Hitting number 2, Mayo, second base. Hitting number 3, Kramer, center field. Hitting number 4, Greenberg, left field. Hitting number 5, Cullenbine, right field. Hitting number 6, York, first base. Hitting number 7, Outlaw, third base. Hitting number 8, Swift, the catcher. And hitting number 9, Overmeyer, O-V-E-R-M-I-R-E, the pitcher. And now the Tigers have taken the field. And the leadoff hitter for the Chicago Cubs is about to come out here. And Roy Johnson, old Hard Rock, is in the coaching box at first for the Cubs. And Jolly Charlie Grimm, the manager of the Cubs, is on his way down to the third base coaching box. And now in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we will have the playing of our national anthem. The Tigers are out there in their defensive positions on the field. York is at first, Mayo at second, Webb at short. At third is Outlaw, and left is Greenberg, and center is Kramer, and in right field is Cullenbine. On the mound now is Overmeyer, and behind the plate is Big Bob Swift. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. And now Old Glory flies from the top of the tall flagstaff in deep center field, and from flagstaffs all around the roof of classic Briggs Stadium flies that most beautiful of all flags, our own Stars and Stripes. Now, just before I bring in my colleague here, we're going to pause 10 seconds for station identification. Remember, men, look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
This is WGN Chicago, serving the Middle West.
And now to bring you his play-by-play description of the first 4.5 innings of this particular action here in the third World Series game is the big boy whose hometown, incidentally, is Monongahela, Pennsylvania, though he lives in New York. Big Al Helfa. Al, here she is.
Thanks, Bill. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Stubby Overmeyer is about ready to make the first pitch to a left-hand hitter, Stanley Hack. He does, and it's a curveball that's good for a strike. So this third game of the World Series has now gotten underway. Stubby Overmeyer, standing 5 feet 7, weighing about 170 pounds, delivers again, and Hack takes. It's low and on the outside for ball 1. So the count now on leadoffer Stanley Hack is 1 ball and 1 strike. Hack stands very deep at the plate, crouches slightly, swings on this pitch and foul tips it. Well, that's strike 2. Stubby Overmeyer is 26 years of age. He was born in a place called Moline, Michigan, and he now makes his home in Grand Rapids. This fellow's a graduate of the Western State Teachers College back at Kalamazoo. Got himself a Bachelor of Science degree in 1941. Stubby kicks, throws, and there's a ball hit out into left field. Greenberg comes up to it and takes it nicely for the out. That's all for Hack, a fly ball into left field to Captain Hank Greenberg. Overmeyer fed a fast one on the outside that time that Hack dumped out into left field. So with 1 away now for Chicago, Don Johnson, their second baseman, who is hitting at .250 in the series, batting right-handed. Stands about midway in batter's box. Overmeyer tries a fast curve on him. It's swung on, fouled back into the screen. His count is strike 1. No balls, 1 strike. The outfield fans slightly around the left to this right-handed hitter. Webb is at short, playing very deep. Overmeyer pitches. A curveball is hit down slowly to third. Jimmy Outlaw comes up with it on a skip, throws it into first base, and that's all for Johnson. Going out from third to first. So that's the second out here in the top of the first inning. There's no scores yet in this third game. The batter coming up now is little Harry Lowry. Peanuts so far in this series has had 2 hits and 8 tries, so he, like Johnson, is hitting at .250. He stands very deep in batter's box. Holds that bat way up on his right shoulder. Swings on a pitch and laces it very solidly out into left field. Hank Greenberg takes it on the first skip, fires it into Skeeter Webb, the Detroit shortstop. And Lowry is on at first with a single drilled into left. So that's the first hit of this third game of the series. Now comes Phil Cavaretta, the star first baseman of the Chicago Cubs. And in the series, as Bill McCorum told you, he's hitting at .500 even. He has 4 hits for 8 tries. Lowry leads off first. Overmeyer pitches to the plate, and it's a curveball low and on the inside. The left-hand hitter, of course, that's ball 1. 1 ball, no strikes. The count on left-handed hitting Phil Cavaretta. He crouches way over at the plate, takes the next pitch low and outside. That's ball 2. Lowry, who is pretty fleet of foot, steps off first base with big Rudy York straddled on the inside corner. Overmeyer stretches, pitches to the plate, a curveball that snaps off outside for ball 3. Despite the fact that this guy, Cavaretta, is a left-hand hitter, he still is not being played as a pull hitter into right field. They're playing him deep nevertheless. Overmeyer throws a fast strike right through. That's the first one. That makes the count on Cavaretta 3-1. Charlie Grimm down behind third gets the attention of Cavaretta and yells something to him. Now Overmeyer is ready. The Detroit pitcher delivers. There goes the runner, and it's low for ball 4. So Lowry started to dig for second base. And then as soon as ball 4 was called on Cavaretta, he slowed down and moved into second easily. So that's the first base on balls given up in this game. Now the Cubs have runners at first and second. Lowry is at second, Cavaretta at first, and here is Andy Pafko, the right-hand hitting center fielder. He swings on the first pitch and hits a ball down to shortstop. Webb comes up with it and plays it right back to Eddie Mayo at second base for a force out on Cavaretta coming down for the third out in the inning. So for the Cubs here in the top of the first inning, it is no runs, 1 hit, 2 men left, and there were no errors. So at the end of the top of the first inning, it is Chicago nothing and Detroit nothing. Well, according to baseball experts, there are 3 basic pitches: the fastball, curveball, and slow ball. Every great pitcher has all 3 deliveries, just as Gillette has all 3 requisites for utmost shaving luxury. Yes, when you soften your whiskers with Gillette shaving cream, lather or brushless, and breeze through them with today's Gillette Blue Blade in your Gillette razor, you enjoy the slickest, most refreshing shaves a man can have. Your face looks its best and feels great. Fans, Gillette Brushless and Gillette Lather are superb beard softeners because they remove moisture-resisting oil from your whiskers almost instantly and blanket plenty of water against them. Every bristle gets a thorough soaking pronto. Enjoy the added luxury of shaving the all-Gillette way. Prepare your beard with Gillette Brushless or Gillette Lather and skim it off with today's Gillette Blue Blade in your Gillette razor. Men, look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. Now for the last half of the first inning. It's a scoreless ball game between the Chicago Cubs and the Detroit Tigers. So far in this series, as Bill has explained to you, these 2 teams stand at 1-1. Chicago took the first game on Wednesday 9-0, and then yesterday Detroit came roaring back to defeat Chicago 4-1. And now Claude Passeau, the 36-year-old right-hander, known around the trade as Old 13, is about ready to make his first pitch in the last half of the first inning. He's facing Skeeter Webb, the Detroit shortstop. The first pitch is made, and it's a fast, low curve under the knees for ball 1. Webb has 3 for 8 in his work at the plate in the series, and he's hitting at .375. Passeau, a graduate of Millsaps College, back in the year of 1932, gets himself ready again, twists, throws. There's a fastball hit right down to shortstop. Hughes comes up with it on a big skip, throws it into first to Cavaretta. That's all for Webb, going out from short to first. So that's 1 away for Detroit here in the last half of the first inning. Eddie Mayo, hitting left-handed. He's had 2 for 7 in 2 games, so his batting percentage stands at .286. He's a left-hand hitter, stands deep at the plate with an overly closed stance, which means simply that his right foot is very much farther forward and pushed down toward third. He stands almost straight up. Plate, holds that bat high on his left shoulder. The outfield plays him as a pull hitter to right field. Passeau twists, throws a fast curve in there for a strike. No balls, 1 strike. Claude Passeau juggles that ball around in his mitt. Now takes his sign, delivers, and it's taken outside. It's ball 1. 1-1 is the count on Eddie Mayo, the Detroit second baseman. Passeau hiding that ball behind his back. Starts his pumping motion. Delivers a change of pace curve that floats in and over. Called strike 2. No balls, 2 strikes. That's the count on Eddie Mayo. Second man up for the Tigers here in the last half of the first inning. There's no score in this game as yet. Livingston hangs the mitt out as a target. Ball is thrown in there and swung on. There's a foul ball out back of left field. That was a line drive, hit about 10 feet foul out back of left, bounced into the roll of canvas up against the field seats. So the count stays on Eddie Mayo. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Passeau rubs the new ball briefly now. Art Passarelli, plate umpire, bends down over Mickey Livingston's left shoulder to get a good look at this offering. Passeau throws it, and there's a ball hit down to third. Stanley Hack comes up with it nicely, throws it over to Cavaretta, and that's all for Mayo. Bouncing out from the third baseman Stanley Hack to first baseman Phil Cavaretta. So 2 Tigers have been up here in the last half of the first inning, and both have been taken care of by someone on the infield. Kramer's coming to bat now. Old Roger Dock. He hits him left-handed. Stands very deep at the plate. Passeau throws him a medium-speed curveball that's low for ball 1. Passeau, you know, was born in a place called Waynesboro, Mississippi. He now lives in Lucydale, Mississippi. Very proud of his farm, too. He'll talk to you about it all night if you give him a chance. He throws now, and Roger Kramer swings on it. There's a long fly ball in the left center field. Andy Pafko is over and takes it nicely after a long run for the out. And that's all for Kramer. Flying out to his opposing center fielder, Andy Pafko. So for the Detroit Tigers in the last half of the first inning, they go down in order: Webb, Mayo, and Kramer. No runs, no hits, nobody left, and there were no errors. At the end of one full inning of play here in the third game of the World Series at Briggs Stadium in Detroit, the score stands 0-0. There has been just one hit in this third game of the series, and that was picked up by Peanuts Lowry in the first inning when he slapped one into left field. So that's how everything stands as these two pitchers, Overmeyer and Passot, find themselves locked up in a pretty good-sized pitcher's duel at the end of the first inning. It's odd to note that both of these men pitching this afternoon for their respective ball clubs are both college graduates and both have a Bachelor of Science degree. Now Nicholson steps in the top of the second inning. Bill's up for his first time this afternoon, hits left-handed. Overmeyer, southpaw, delivers. There's a snapping curveball outside for ball one. Outfield plays more or less straight away to Nicholson, despite the fact he hits him left-handed. He tries to time the next pitch and slaps a grounder down to second. Eddie Mayo comes up with it nicely, flips it into first base to Rudy York. That's all for Nicholson. Going out second to first, so that's one away in the top of the second inning for Chicago. Hitting at .500 is Mickey Livingston. Paul Gillespie caught yesterday, but here today it is Mickey Livingston doing the hind snatching for the Chicago Cubs. He's a right-handed hitter, stands very deep in batter's box, sort of hugs up on it from behind slightly. Overmeyer looks at him, then throws a fast curve high for ball one. Outfield fans around slightly to left to Livingston. Greenberg out in left is playing very deep. Overmeyer throws a change of pace curve that's just above the letters for ball two. 2 balls, no strikes. We're in the top of the second inning and no score in this game. Little stubby Overmeyer delivers a fast curve. It's swung on, and there's a high fly ball into right center field. Cullenbine is under this one, and he's got it easily for the out. And that's all for Livingston. A fly ball to Cullenbine in right field. That's the second out now in the top of the second inning in the scoreless ball game. That brings to bat shortstop Roy Hughes of the Cubs. He hasn't gotten a hit in this series as yet. He's gone 0 for 6. Crouches over slightly from the waist. Swings on the first pitch and doesn't get it. Strike one. Overmeyer had a high, tight curve, working close off the fingers. Frankie comes right back. There's a low curve under the knees of Roy Hughes for ball one. 1-1 is the count on the Chicago shortstop. That's Roy Hughes. Overmeyer delivers a fast one. And this is just outside for ball two. 2 balls, 1 strike. 2 outs, top of the second. The score, Chicago nothing, Detroit nothing. Overmeyer kicks, throws again, a medium-speed curveball. It is fouled back of third base and over into the field seats. So the count is now 2 balls, 2 strikes on Roy Hughes. With 2 down here in the top of the second inning and the bases empty, it's Roy Hughes at the plate. He has a count of 2-2. He takes the next pitch low and under his knees. That's a skip rope to keep from being hit with a pitch. And his count now runs to 3-2. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Swift signs for the pitch. Overmeyer throws it. It's a fastball hit back to shortstop. Skeeter Webb comes up with it. There's his quick throw to Rudy York, and it's in time. That's all for Hughes, going out from short to first. So in the second, nothing across for Chicago. And at the end of 1 1/2 innings of play, the score stands Chicago nothing and Detroit nothing. Well, here, fans, is the old Fordham Flash, Frankie Frisch, dynamic manager of the hustling Pittsburgh Pirates. Frankie used to play a lot of second base for the Cards years ago, and in my book, he ranks with Eddie Collins, Lajoie, Hornsby, and other immortals of the Keystone stack. Frankie Frisch, come on in here and tell the fans about the sharpest razor blade on earth.
Sharp is right, Al. The Gillette Blue Blade is plenty sharp, yes, and mighty easy shaving.
Well, would you say that the Gillette Blue Blade is #1 with the Pirates, Frankie?
Yes, sir, by all odds. That's because you can always count on it for the slickest, easiest shaves a man can have.
That's putting it straight, Frankie Frisch. By the way, folks, Gillette Blue Blade should be easier to obtain now. And remember, look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. Right here at Briggs Stadium in Detroit, we're going into the last half of the second inning of the third World Series game here in 1945. And out on the mound, Claude Passeau for the Chicago Cubs, kicking dirt and getting ready. And the first man up is going to be the fella that put the game on ice yesterday for Detroit, Big Hank Greenberg, and gee whiz did he hit one yesterday. Hank coming up there, he has 2 for 5 for the series, including that home run, so he's hitting right now at .400. Passeau looks him over, delivers him a fast curve that slides off outside for ball 1. 1 ball, no strike. That's the count on Hank Greenberg. First man up for Detroit in the last half of the second inning. Passeau works again. It's a curveball swung on and missed for a strike. And Greenberg really had distance, and he swung that time. He spun all the way around when he didn't get it. The outfield is playing very deep to Greenberg. Lowry in left field is back almost on the skin surface, back up in front of the screen in left field. Andy Pafko is deep in left center field. Passeau pumps once, throws a sidearm delivery that's a crossfire and in there for a strike. No balls, 2 strikes is the count now on Hank Greenberg, the first man up for Detroit here in the last half of the second inning. With this gray overcast sky and a hazy day this afternoon, Passeau and Overmeyer both look exceptionally fast. Passeau's delivery is a high curve on the outside to Greenberg to level his count now at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hank trying to loosen up his shoulder muscles, sort of jiggles them up and down, now waves his bat back and forth. Passeau gets ready for this 2-2 delivery. He twists, throws a sidearm curve that's outside for ball 3. Now the count on Greenberg is 3-2. And Hank said last night that it felt like old times. The boys were throwing him a lot of fast curves and dusting him off, throwing him close up against his body. Said it made him feel right at home. Well, there's a 3-2 count going now. We'll see what happens. Passeau throws, Greenberg swings, and there's a high foul ball up and back. Mickey Livingston comes back for the screen, and he can't get it. It's about 4 feet up on the screen. So the count stays on Greenberg at 3 balls, 2 strikes. That Greenberg's a pretty likable fella. He's always got a pleasant smile for you, always willing to sit and talk with you. He's like Charlie Grimm. Charlie really chew your ear off, too. Now Passeau, who's very businesslike on that mound, puts his foot forward on the rubber, takes his sign from Mickey Livingston, looks around, checks his outfield. Now he's ready to throw 3-2 once more. Here it comes. It's swung on and missed for strike 3. A high, fast curve on the outside. And Greenberg is struck out. That's the first strikeout here in this ball game. The batter now is Roy Cullenbine. Roy has sort of been handcuffed so far in the series. He's been up 5 times officially, and he's failed to get a base hit. He's been walked a couple of times, and that's not much to Roy's liking. He likes to get a hold of that potato and swing hard on it. He's a left-hand hitter. Swings on this one, and there's a foul coming up almost into our mutual booth. Of course, that's strike 1. Cullenbine hitting left-handed against the right-handed pitching of Claude Passeau. When a left-hander works, Cullenbine switches around, hits him right-handed. But it's figured he's probably a little better as a left-handed hitter. Now Passeau delivers a new ball, and it's a fast curve under the knees of Cullenbine for ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. The outfield is fanned around to right. Nicholson is very deep in right field, down pretty close to the line in right field. Passeau throws a curveball that stays high and outside. Cullenbine stops a moment to kick the mud out of his spikes. The count on Roy is 2 balls, 1 strike. Claude Passeau dries off his hands over the front of his uniform shirt. Now grips that ball firmly. Delivers to the plate. Swung on by Cullenbine. There's a high fly ball going out into short left center field. Lowry comes over and calls for it, and he's got it. Peanuts Lowry making the run down in the catch in left center. So that's 2 outs now for Detroit in the last half of the second inning. And the batter is Rudy York. The big first baseman has had only 1 hit in 7 official appearances at the plate. So his batting percentage is below 200. As a matter of fact, he's hitting at 143. But I think the thousands here at Briggs Stadium in Detroit and around the country all know that Rudy York can hit an awful long ball. He hit an awful long one yesterday for a long out. Pafko really robbed him of an extra base blow. Paso curves this big fella, and it's just high above the letters for ball one. The outfield very much respect York's hitting ability, so they're playing him very deep. The right-hander leans over the plate now. The right-hander on the mound. Paso delivers and drives a curve in there that backs up York. That's ball two. 2 balls, no strikes. 2 outs, last of the second inning. No scores yet in the game. Paso's working very deliberately this afternoon. Very slowly. Goes into position. Throws a fast curve. It's laced out into left center field. It's in there for a base hit. Rudy York turns to the left at first base, and then when that ball is fielded very sharply by Lowry, he returns to first with a single. That is hit number 1 off Claude Paso this afternoon. And that was a spiked line drive, and there was no mistake about it being in there. It was really hit. So with 2 away, Rudy York singles to left center field. And here is Jimmy Outlaw, right-hand hitting third baseman. Opens his stance slightly toward the pitcher. He stands away from the plate and chokes up a little on the handle of the bat. Paso looks over his left shoulder at big Rudy York, then delivers to the plate, and Outlaw takes a fast one, zipped in for a strike. No balls, 1 strike is the count on Jimmy Outlaw. This Tennessee gentleman is hitting at .250. He has 2 hits for 8 at-bats in 2 games that have already been played. He's up for his 9th official at-bat right now. Paso delivers him, and Outlaw swings and misses. Strike 2. No balls, 2 strikes. It's a count on Outlaw. 2 outs here in the last half of the second inning. And Rudy York at first base. Matter of fact, Rudy's the first base runner Detroit has had so far. Paso checks him carefully, then throws a sidearm delivery to the plate. Outlaw started to go for it, but pulled up. And took a curveball outside for ball 1. 1 ball, 2 strikes. York doesn't take much of a lead at first base. He's not particularly fast on his feet. So he'll be waiting to see what Jimmy Outlaw does at the plate. Paso carefully sets into position. Looks at York, now throws sidearm to the plate. Outlaw swings, and there's a high fly ball out into center field. Andy Pafko tears up under it, and he's got it. And that's all for Outlaw. Fly ball to center to Andy Pafko. So in the second inning for Detroit, no runs, 1 hit. 1 man, Rudy York, left at first base, and there were no Chicago errors. So at the end of 2 full innings of play here at Briggs Stadium in Detroit, the score stands 0-0 between Detroit and Chicago. And at the end of 2 innings, the totals look something like this. No runs, 1 hit, no errors for each side. As we go into the top half of inning number 3, the first man up for the Cubs is going to be the pitcher, Claude Paso. Claude's a pretty fair hitting pitcher. He'll be taking his good old time about coming out there. While we have the opportunity, for you folks listening in, let us set the Detroit Tigers for you defensively. As Stubby Overmeyer, who has won 9 and lost 9 in the American League season, takes the mound for this 3rd inning. Behind the plate is Bob Swift, his battery mate. Rudy York is at first base. At second base is Eddie Mayo. At shortstop, Skeeter Webb. At third base, Jimmy Outlaw. Out in left field for Detroit is Hank Greenberg. Doc Kramer is in center, and in right field is Roy Cullenbine. Now Claude Paso hitting right-handed with his feet wide spread apart. Steps up there. Old 13 holds that bat way down to the end. Overmeyer southpaws this one in there, and it swung on and missed for a strike. Paso was after a high curve that came right across the lettering. Overmeyer starts that delivery to the plate again, and again Paso swings, and again he misses. So Claude has gone for 2 high curves now and missed them both. His count is no balls, 2 strikes. First man up for Chicago in the top of the 3rd inning. Overmeyer kicks and throws again. It's a high outside curve this time for ball 1. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The outfield has fanned around very drastically to left of Paso. That's where he hits most of his base hits. He swings on this next pitch, a change of pace curve that Overmeyer had nicely had in there, and Claude Passot took a double hitch in his swing before he fouled it off. Passot even grinned as he turned around and looked back toward the Chicago bench. 1-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The count on Claude Passot. Overmeyer has briefly rubbed the new ball and he's ready. Stubby pumps, delivers. A fastball swung on and missed for strike 3. And that's all for Passot. That's the first strikeout for Overmeyer. Now each pitcher has hung up a strikeout. Starting the second batting around for the Cubs is Stanley Hack. There's a nice fella, too. There's a fellow that's always got a smile for you and always got something funny to say. Overmeyer delivers this left-hand hitter, and it's a curve high for ball 1. Hack is 0 for 1 in this game, and he's starting the second batting around for Chicago. Overmeyer delivers. There's a fastball hit back to shortstop. Webb comes over to his right, picks it, throws to first just in time, and that's all for Hack. Going out from short to first. Skeeter Webb gets around at shortstop pretty well. The batter now is Don Johnson, Chicago's second baseman. Johnson came up in the first inning and was thrown out by was thrown out by third baseman Jimmy Outlaw. He hammered one down to him. Now Overmeyer pitches this right-handed hitter and gets a nice curve in for a strike. No balls, 1 strike. 2 outs, top of the third. No score in this game. Overmeyer works. And there's a ball swung on. It's a high pop-up back at first base. And just in foul territory, Rudy York grabs it for the out. Well, that's all for Johnson. That's all for the Cubs here in the top of the third inning. There's nothing across for them. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left. So at the end of 2.5 innings of play, it's the Cubs nothing and the Tigers nothing. When the old hit and run clicks, it may win a ball game. But fans, there's just no percentage in putting up with the hit and run shaves a fellow gets with run-of-the-mine razor blades. No, sir. Not when you can count on the Gillette Blue Blade to give you, as Pirate manager Frankie Frisch puts it, the slickest, easiest shaves a man can have. This blade has the sharpest edges ever produced. So sharp, so smoothly finished, so easy shaving that you just skim the stubble off. And what's more, those edges are hard enough to cut glass, so they stay sharp for one comfortable shave after another and save you money. Ask your dealer for Gillette Blue Blades, 5 for a quarter. They should be easier to obtain now. Remember, men, look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. Now we're ready for the last half of the third inning. And here at Briggs Stadium in Detroit, these two teams are locked up in a 0-0 battle for this third game of the series. Bob Swift hitting right-handed, making his first appearance at the plate as a hitter. He's a pretty good size fella. Legs wide spread apart. Pretty good sized pair of shoulders on him. Hits right-handed. Passot delivers. The ball is swung on. There's a high foul to the right of the plate. And it fades over into fair territory right in front of the plate. And the catcher Livingston grabs it for the out. And that's all for Swift. So he pops up and out to catcher Livingston. The round of applause is for Overmeyer. Stubby comes walking up to the plate. Despite the fact he throws left-handed, has quite an assortment of curves, he does all his hitting right-handed. Stands very deep at the plate, legs wide, spread apart, holds that bat way down by the end. Passot curves him and gets it in there good for a strike. No balls, 1 strike on Overmeyer. Passot over his head easily, cuts the next pitch loose, and Overmeyer's after it. There's a foul ball up into the second tier behind first base. That makes a count on Overmeyer. No balls, 2 strikes. Last half of the third inning. No score between Detroit and Chicago. Passot, after monkeying around slightly, delivers the plate. Overmeyer swings on it, and there's another foul ball down the right field line. This one goes back into the second tier behind right field. There's always a scramble. For the balls hit into the stands here at the series, quite a scramble. The count stays on Overmeyer at no balls, 2 strikes. The infield is playing in very close. Now Passau has taken his sign from Livingston. Delivers to the plate. There's a fastball hit right back to the mound. Passau knocks it down. After it, picks it up, flips it into Cavaretta just by a spike, and Overmeyer is out. Passau didn't know exactly where that ball had gone, but Overmeyer had hit it right back to the mound, and more in a defensive measure than anything else, Passau threw his gloved hand up. The ball hit his glove and stopped and dropped down to the left of the mound. And Passau made the play. So Overmeyer is out, being thrown out by pitcher Claude Passau to first baseman Phil Cavaretta. The batter now is Skeeter Webb. Webb came up in the first inning and was thrown out by shortstop Roy Hughes on a high-bounding ball. And now the Skeeter's up for his second try. He's a slender right-handed hitter, stands just off the plate. Bends over slightly from the waist, works up well on the handle of the bat. Passau throws him a fast one that misses just outside for ball one. Webb beats that bat down on the rubber of home plate. Pumps it back and forth a couple of times. Passau is ready once more. Delivers. Webb takes a curve that snaps off outside for ball two. Two balls, no strikes. Two out, last half of the third inning, no score. This is Passau pitching for Chicago. Delivers. Webb swings, and there's a high foul ball coming up here to the press box, just to our right, and it drops just in front of the press box onto the screen. Well, the count now on Webb is 2 balls, 1 strike. Claude Passau rubs a new ball briefly. Claude won 17 ball games in the National League this year, while losing 9. As a matter of fact, Charlie Grimm didn't expect that Passau was going to be able to pitch for him at all this year. Claude certainly has been one of the contributing factors to the Cubs' success. He throws now, and there's a ball hit right back to the mound. Passau easily takes it, runs partway over to first, and then just sort of underhandedly flips that ball over to first base in time to get Webb. So that's all for the Tigers here in the last half of the third inning, and once more it's nothing across for them. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left. So at the end of 3 full innings of play, we've got a scoreless ball game on our hands here at Briggs Stadium in Detroit. And before inning number 4 comes up with Lowry, Cavaretta, and Pafko as the hitters for Chicago, might be a very good idea to pause about 10 seconds for station identification. Remember, men, look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
This is WGN Chicago, serving the Middle West.